Diversity, equity, and inclusion are a top priority for many organizations these days, especially in how we recruit candidates into our own organization. Yet, even with intentional focus on building towards equity, our hiring and recruitment practices have an unintentional effect. Because we're humans, we all have bias that creeps into how we see people and how we evaluate potential candidates. At FFI, we've been trying some new approaches to upend the potential bias in our hiring process. And in this short video, we'd like to share a new way of thinking about how bias can creep into the hiring process, some new practices we've been trying on to mitigate bias, and how you can explore new ways to recruit and match processes with your DEI values. In most recruitment processes, the first judgments about a candidate are usually made based off of a resume or CV, which is incredibly bias-inducing, and snap judgments based on name, work experience, and education has proven to be one of the least successful predictors of success in the workplace. It's not enough to simply be aware of bias and decide to work against it. So utilizing research done by a hiring system that helps remove bias called Applied, we started using 7 strategies to reduce bias in hiring in conjunction with Applied. Targeted applications based on evaluating top priority skills for positions, anonymizing candidates, wisdom of the crowd, reviewing pieces of the application individually, randomizing candidates, standardizing assessment, and an all-at-once reveal. To undo the unconscious bias we have in response to names, educational affiliation, degrees, and other qualities on a resume, FFI begins the process in a different place. In lieu of resumes, we begin applicant evaluation by reviewing responses to a series of questions targeted to display a candidate's skill around top role priorities. Then these priorities or non-negotiable skills guide the rubrics evaluators use when completing their applicant reviews. Identifying information is removed from applications so that the application is evaluated based on content alone. This reduces our tendency to have a natural affinity for people who we share something in common with. It also reduces the likelihood of stereotyping based on name. Rather than simply going with what one person thinks, using the wisdom of the crowd increases the quality of a decision around an applicant by allowing for multiple perspectives. We use 3 reviewers to achieve maximum benefit. FFI reviews pieces of candidate applications rather than reviewing a specific candidate's entire application at once. This reduces our tendency to look for information that confirms our snap decisions and reduces the likelihood that we'll focus on one particular positive or negative aspect of the application. Randomizing candidates for each piece of their application when assessing them helps to neutralize the bias of rating people differently based on how we're feeling at the moment and the order in which candidates are reviewed. For example, we may rate someone differently when we're tired or hungry than at other times, and we may rate them differently depending on the application we looked at right beforehand. FFI standardizes the assessment process by reviewing the application materials through a rubric. This further reduces the shortcuts that our brains take to spotlight only particular pieces of an application or being swayed by writing ability when writing is not an essential function to the job. The final strategy is an all-at-once candidate rating reveal. Once reviews are completed, they are auto-tabulated and we're able to see what the other evaluators thought. This prevents reviewers from being swayed by the group or influenced by reviewers with more organizational power. From doing this, we've learned a number of things. While the initial phase of assessing candidates was time-consuming, we ended up saving time in the interview stage because the candidates that advanced were better aligned to the needs of the role. We're noticing a more diverse candidate pool through the interview stages, and some of the debiasing persists beyond hiring. For example, no one knows what degrees recent hires have, so that doesn't influence how we interact in the workplace. However, we still have plenty of room for growth, such as making sure our application questions don't build in white supremacy culture norms, or having targeted recruiting strategies so there's a more diverse applicant pool to begin with, or finding ways to have our applications be less focused on written communication when that's not essential for the job, and so much more. If you're currently working on reducing bias in your hiring process, we want to hear and learn from you. Contact us at info@fullframeinitiative.org.